welcome to this online course.
This course is being offered absolutely free of cost to ensure that it reaches all those in need, irrespective of social and economic circumstances.
Also, through these courses, we want to achieve our vision to help and improve lives of 1 million people.
So please feel free to like and share the video and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Wish you all the very best and happy learning.
Hi everyone and welcome to the course Certified Post-COVID Era Professional. Free course on skills, knowledge and attitude required to excel in the new normal. As we all know, post this pandemic called as COVID-19, the lifestyle, the working style, many things have changed drastically. Now this course is for all the professionals who would like to adjust to this new normal and excel in the same. Let us start the session with a wonderful quote by Robert Sculler, who says, "Tough times never last, but tough people do." So let's get this quote as a motivation inside us and let's start the session. Let us first understand the session plan. We will quickly start with introduction to the course and course objectives. We will understand what are the pros and cons of the new normal. Next, we will move on to technology and digital adaptation in business. Some must learn skills, okay? Digital communication and engagement. We will understand how to ensure that we are able to balance our work and life in this new normal. Next, we will move on to health and safety, all the four: physical, psychological, emotional, and spiritual. Managing the most crucial time for everyone, which is time. We will have a very interesting activity called preparedness. In the end, we will have an exercise or case study, which is going to be mandatory for certification. Finally, we'll end the entire course with summarization, queries, and feedback. Let us start with introduction to the course and course objectives. This course is a very comprehensive course on preparedness of professionals for post-COVID new world with the below mentioned key objectives. Number one, to help learners understand the changes and how to deal with them. Number two, to ensure that learners develop the skills and knowledge required. And three, to make sure participants can apply the new attitude and learning to emerge successfully in the new normal. As I've already pointed out, the whole agenda of this course is to ensure that all the professionals get adjusted to the new normal. Not only get adjusted, but also learn the attitude, knowledge, and skills required to excel in the same. Let us now get into the first session of the course, which is pros and cons of the new normal. Some of the advantages or pros of this new normal are technology and innovation. Now, because of the situation, the advancement in technology is getting better and vice versa also, okay? Maybe because of the advancement in technology, we are able to adjust to this new normal. So both are happening, which is a pro. World is getting flat. You know what I mean by this is, let's take the example of training and development. It was not a very standardized industry. There were some people who used to charge huge amounts and conduct their sessions uh, in big hotels and in big venues. Now, because of this COVID, what has happened is everyone, okay, any newcomer in the industry also can deliver to anyone in the entire world, okay. There is no need for visa, passport to travel and reach out to people in a different time zone or location. That's what I mean by world is getting flatter, okay. So uh, though the competition is very high, now the chance of everyone reaching anyone in the world is much higher. Healthy home food definitely is a big pro, because most of us are spending more time at home. We can actually now focus on eating healthy. We are able to give more time to our family. Now all these are certain advantages of the new normal. Coming to the disadvantages or cons, though the technology and innovation is growing and getting bigger, we are having a big need to upgrade more than ever. Okay, so all of us as professionals need to upgrade ourselves in the whatever the new technology which is coming up. World is getting flat but reduced face-to-face interaction. I always say that the moment the lockdown started during somewhere in the mid of March, from then on, in around 4 to 5 months, we have, as a trainer, I have had only one actual physical training. So the face-to-face interaction is reduced, though we are actually interacting with a lot of people through this virtual medium. That's a kind of a con. Though we have healthy home food, social life is getting reduced. Okay, we are all connecting, even big functions, family functions like marriages, anniversaries, birthdays, everything is happening virtually on video call. So a little bit of social life is being reduced. Though we are able to give more family time, lot of professionals are not being able to manage their work and life. Okay, so that balance is getting somewhere uh, slightly moved. Okay, we are not able to balance the work and life. These are the cons of the new normal. Now, as a person who is proactive, we can't just sit back and think of all these disadvantages. We have to start managing them. So this course is all about how you can learn new skills, knowledge to handle these disadvantages of the new situation. Let's start with our next session, which is technology and digital adaptation. How this entire thing evolved, if you want to understand. We started with industry 1.0 or 1.0. That was a time before 1900s when it was mainly mechanical. Okay, so a lot of focus was given to steam engines and mechanical processes. Slowly, as the revolution started, industry 2.0 focused on assembly line manufacturing. Okay, from mechanical, so also a lot of electrical components started coming in manufacturing, and it was a period of mass manufacturing. If you remember, Ford as a company started mass manufacturing of cars. Okay, now that was the start of a new era of industry 2.0. Time passed and we started with a new revolution called industry 3.0, which had a lot of electronic and computer science also getting into the manufacturing process. Okay, and whatever the operations used to happen in big industries. Yes, manufacturing line was there or assembly line was there, but it also had a lot of automation, many electronic components, machine learning, things like this started coming. And today, okay, we talk about industry 4.0. Now, what all things are there under industry 4.0? Let's now focus on what is the current thing. Okay, now this I'm not talking because COVID has come and hit the world. Even before COVID, big MNCs and companies like Tata, like Infosys, like Amazon, they're already started working on industry 4.0. Now, what is this? Okay, what are the different components or features under industry 4.0? Now, this is an era of autonomous robots, simulation, system integration, IoT or Internet of Things, cyber security, cloud computing. Now we don't do anything. We don't save even our photographs on our devices. We have Google Drive or Google Storage for that. That's a cloud computing or cloud storage. Additive manufacturing, augmented reality, AR as we call AR and VR, virtual reality and augmented reality, big data, and all these put together. Okay, the networking systems, artificial intelligence, and all these put together, we can call it as industry 4.0. Okay, now that is how the technology is getting adapted in our industry. Just to give you a few examples so that you understand what is big data. Data, all of us know, data is represented in columns and rows. Simple, right? So any data can be represented like that. When we talk about big data, now if you think of a company like Google, all of us use smartphones, and more than 95% people are using Android phones, which have Google in it. Now, every single second and every single minute of the day, we are actually giving a lot of data to Google. Okay, so including the location. If we are moving around, every location of ours is actually sent to the servers of Google. So that's a huge data we are talking about. Now, it is not a point of one or two users. There are millions and millions of users whose data is going and getting dumped on the server of Google. Now, how can someone make sense of it? Okay, if it is a small 4 column, 4 rows data, it's understandable. I and you can understand. But what about this kind of huge data? And using this, companies like Google are making sense of it. Okay, understanding it. Now that's where big data and analytics come into picture. Okay, there are big tools which are used to analyze this kind of huge data and make some sense of it. Now, if you are browsing Facebook, for example, and you have gone to Amazon for shopping something, and then you are browsing on Facebook, on the Facebook you'll probably get the same ad. Okay, now that's the, I would say, the output of big data and analytics. That is the kind of target marketing which can happen using big data, right? Not only that, artificial intelligence. We all use applications like Siri or Cortana. Right? All these are actually artificial intelligence. If you see, when you start talking to these kind of AI applications, with time they start learning. Okay, they don't give the same response every time. Okay, it is not programmed. They start learning from the experience, and they are intelligent. Now that's called artificial intelligence. What is the application you might have seen? If you are every single day going from your home to your office same time, by evening say 6:30, you might get a notification on your phone saying that better you start soon. Today it's looking like the traffic will get heavier, okay, at this point of time. Now these are called as artificial intelligence applications. There are many more like this. Okay, uh, augmented reality. Okay, let's think of that, virtual reality and augmented reality. Even operations can happen from a doctor sitting in India on a patient who is, say, sitting or lying on a bed in a hospital in United States, using augmented reality. Now these are the kind of applications which are there today, and it's already there. I'm not saying because COVID has it, but it is already there. So today is the age where we are talking about industry 4.0. Let's now understand different verticals and how these different verticals or industries depend on IT or information technology. I've taken some verticals like entertainment, automobile, which comes under manufacturing, banking, healthcare, pure manufacturing, education, financial services, and retail. I've divided these verticals or industries into ITES and two more. Let us come to that slowly. And if you think about pure information technology and information technology enabled services, so which are the companies under it? You can think about Infosys, Wipro, Mindtree. All these are ITES companies. Pre-COVID, the dependence on information technology was somewhere around 80%. Non-IT was 20% because people used to travel to their offices. They used to have physical meetings, discussions, many things. Post-COVID, what has happened is for all these companies, dependence on IT has raised to 99%, and non-IT is literally 1 or somewhere around 1%. Okay, because every employee is working from home remotely, and physical meetings are no more there. Okay, many big companies have vacated their offices, and they've started working from home. The dependence on IT has raised like crazy, right? Coming to the second set of verticals, which is production and manufacturing. So automobiles or pure manufacturing plants, all this comes under this kind of this set of verticals. Pre-COVID, IT dependence was around 20%, non-IT was 80%. Now the dependence has increased. Okay, so IT dependence is 40% now, non-IT is 60%. Now this is not something which I've taken from a researched journal or something. This is from the experience I'm sharing it. So why am I saying 40-60 is because pure manufacturing firms can't start, all the employees sitting at home and manufacturing can happen. We have not come to that level till now. So still the dependence on, non-IT processes is quite high in manufacturing and production. But even there, people have started using IT for a lot of things. Okay, like meetings, because not all plants and production units are running to the full capacity in terms of their manpower. Many people who are able to work remotely are already doing it. A lot of meetings are going on remotely and a lot of work. Okay, as far as possible, they are trying to eliminate the physical contact. Still, yes, in production and manufacturing, non-IT is still a big chunk. Coming to the next sector of services. Okay, now the second was kind of products. Coming to services like education, healthcare, and other services. Pre, it was around 20% IT and non-IT was 80%. If you can think of all the hospitals, patients have to physically go and get their diagnosis done. If you think about colleges, schools, people are going to the college, school, that particular place and getting the education. IT dependence was quite low at around 20%. Post COVID, what has happened is it has almost gone to 50-50. Again, in these kind of services, it cannot be as high as IT and IT is. Now it is a blended learning. If you think about education, most of the colleges and universities are now talking about blended learning. 50% IT and maybe online courses or live classes on different platforms, and there are certain things which are offline also, like maybe physical exams, going to the college for certain practical applications, and so many things. Now even in healthcare, so many companies and startups like Practo, what they are doing is they are actually giving the diagnosis, the doctor services on their app. Okay, so sitting at home, a patient can actually talk to a doctor and get the diagnosis done. So this was not there as much as it is post COVID. So the dependence on IT and information technology is quite increased in all these services as well. Okay, just to conclude, so what has happened is you can take any industry vertical, it can be pure IT, manufacturing, service, or anything. Dependence on IT is definitely increased. Okay, now that calls for all of us to upgrade and learn certain new set of knowledge and skills. How does business happen today? Okay, now we all understood that the dependence has increased. What is the actual application? So what is happening, right? Meeting and discussions have all moved online. Okay, meetings and discussions are happening on WebEx, Google Meet, Microsoft Teams, whatnot. Okay, guys, it's very important for all of us to learn about these platforms. We can't say that we are not so technology savvy, we'll not learn it. Okay, no option today. I personally have worked on all the different platforms which I'm showing you right now, starting from Zoom to everything available in the market I have worked on. Many companies are working on different platforms for their meetings and discussions. So should you be upgraded and you should be very comfortable using it. Okay. Now, for example, Google Meet has certain features and benefits in terms of number of users, or sharing the screen, or discussing with a lot of people, timing of the meeting. It can be many things. Zoom might have certain advantages. WebEx and Microsoft Teams might have certain advantages. You should be ready and you should explore and keep yourself updated on all these platforms, right? Coming to SLAs and payments, service level agreements and payments. Now it is a time of online agreements and digital payments. Very recently, I signed a small SLA with a company, and the signature was also digital signature. It was not a physical signature and couriering the agreement to the company and receiving it back. It was digital signature and everything happened online. There are many startups and companies who are working on these kind of online document management system as well. Payments, of course, it was already digital earlier. It has increased to a much more extent is what we can say. People now try to avoid, cash handling and other modes of payment, and most of it is now happening digitally. Coming to projects and operations. Now these are all day-to-day things which I discussed earlier. Even projects and operations, the day-to-day operations of the business is happening through online delivery and automation. People do prefer to have online delivery of as much as projects as possible. So just to take examples, definitely, if you have a software project, most of it would be online, including implementation, training of the users also. Now training, because of the platforms we have just discussed, it's now very easy to go online, right? So even training and development or education, all these things are going online, and the delivery and the project operations is online. Okay, a lot of automations are being done for the day-to-day operations as well. It is automations including the different technology we just talked about, like artificial intelligence, machine learning, many things. A lot of automations going on in our operations. Our day-to-day interaction. Okay, there was a time when in a company, we all used to meet for a daily morning meeting, etc. Now everything is happening on con calls, okay, or by email or messaging. It can be just a audio call, even video calls are happening for day-to-day meetings. The trend is, earlier the duration of the meetings was high. Nowadays, post-COVID, it is less duration of meeting, but a large number of meetings are going on. Now, these are the changes we have to get adjusted to. Okay. Now we can't sit and say that we are still living in a pre-COVID era, right? So some of the changes which has happened in business today in front of you. What are the key areas of concerns now? Yes, we understood that the IT dependence has increased. A lot of things are happening differently. What are the key areas of concerns in this new way of doing business? Number one, security. Okay, because security in the sense of password protection, having good antivirus, verifying the sources of a lot of information which is coming in. Okay, most of us are working remotely from our home, so we are using probably the home network and our personal laptops in certain cases. This becomes very, very important. Coming to network, strength and consistency of the network is everything when we are working or depending so much on information technology and online working. Hardware, of course, your laptop, your desktop, or your tab or phone, headphones, okay, microphone, all these becomes very important. These are all hardware which we are depending upon for our day-to-day business. Many softwares would be required, like apps. Okay, you are using meeting app like WebEx. You can also have an app on your phone, on a tab. You can have that software on your system. Of course, you need to have updated operating system as well. Now, operating system is a system software. All these come under the software requirements. Knowledge and skills. Even if you have all these things, there are certain knowledge and skills which you should definitely develop, like operation and maintenance of your hardware and software. Virtual communication. You have to get very comfortable with virtual communication because that's the need of the hour. Finally, there are some other concerns also, because we are spending a lot of time on these things virtually. Physical and psychological effects are there, like your backache, headache, eyesight issues, okay, stress, fatigue, etc. So all these are areas of concern which you should be aware of and you should be taking care of, right? Now let's move on to the next session, which is few must learn skills. One of the most important skill you must learn is digital communication and engagement. Why do you need that? So before we start learning about digital communication and engagement, let's try and understand what are the areas of application. Number one, virtual GD interview and selection process. Now what has happened is, because companies are going so much digital, they are turning all their process of recruitment and selection into online. Earlier, companies used to visit colleges, okay, and conduct the recruitment process, or they used to call candidates to their campus and conduct the process. Nowadays, everything is happening virtually. Not only the final interview, but even group discussions are happening virtually. Now that's where digital communication and engagement becomes very important for students who are wanting to get into their corporate journey, also for those people who want to change their jobs. All right, online team meetings. Even if you are not someone who's looking for a change or wanting to attend an interview, every day-to-day online meeting is happening virtually, and if you don't know to engage your audience and team members virtually, it becomes very difficult for you. Online training sessions. Trainers like me, okay, there are many teachers and trainers out there who are now have to conduct all their sessions online and engage with their kids. In one section or class, there are around 60 people, and because everything is virtual now, many colleges, what they are doing is they are combining 2 or 3 batches together. So in one class, you might even have 120, 150 students also. How will you engage with them? It's not easy, right? You are not able to actually see the people in front of you. It becomes very important for you to be an expert in digital communication and engagement. Last but not the least, even for your online customer interaction. If you are in a role where you are interacting with your customers, See, all of us in any corporate, we are all working for the customers, but there are some people who are directly interacting with them. Now, if you are in such a role, engaging with your customer is most important. So even if you are giving a good resolution without a good communication and engagement, the satisfaction level of the customer will be very, very low, right? So it becomes all the more important for you to learn this skill. So you now understand what is the importance of this skill. So let's get into how to develop it. First and foremost, there are certain technical factors which are affecting your digital communication and engagement, which we have already spoken about. The platform. Okay, first of all, so if you are using Zoom or WebEx or Google Meet or Skype or what is it? So that's about the platform, software, app, hardware, all these things. Your network. Are you in a place where your internet connection is good? Without any issue, you can communicate. Now that and all the other things which I have just discussed are your technical factors. Please make sure before anything that your technical factors are taken care of. All right. Now, even if you're the best in terms of engaging and communication, if these kind of factors are not supporting you, you can't make a good show, right? Very recently, there was a program called Bengaluru Ganesha Utsav, which was going on in South Bangalore. They had called eminent singers and performers for this virtual event, and they had gone live on Facebook, YouTube, and many other platforms. There were many instances where the entire show got suddenly stuck, and thousands of viewers who are viewing them online were not able to continue with the show. Technical issues. Okay, now this is not about whether the artist who's performing there is good or not. It's purely a technical issue. Please take care of these things which we have already discussed. So please, you can go back, look at all the factors which we have discussed earlier. Now, once you are done with your technical factors, you are sure that everything is fine, and you start your sessions. Okay, it can be a training program, a meeting, a customer engagement, or an interview, or anything. Articulation becomes very important. What is articulation in communication? You can also call it encoding. So whenever you start communicating, there is some idea in your mind before you start communicating. All right. Now that idea is very abstract. It doesn't have a shape, form, etc. Now you convert that abstract idea into some concrete words, right? While you are speaking, it is words. While you are writing, it is words. When you are using your body language, it can be a small gesture. Okay, and that is a conversion of into a concrete form. Now this process is called as articulation. In your virtual communication, your words becomes very important. Though you might have brilliant ideas in your mind, how you put forward those ideas in front of the audience is very important, and that's articulation. So in order to improve your encoding or articulation, my suggestion is please practice. Okay, impromptu speaking is not something which all of us are good at. Some people can do it. Okay, some people need a lot of practice. But don't hesitate to practice. Even the best of the orators and public speakers out there do practice. So if you are going to attend a very important team meeting, for example, you know what are the things you have to put forward, what are the agenda, what is the schedule, what are the different key points you have to put forward. Practice for it. Okay, so that when you are speaking, you are able to articulate very quickly, and you're able to use the right words and put forward your communication. Articulation is fine. So you know your ideas, you know how to put it in words or some concrete form and communicate. Next comes eye contact. Now most of you might think you're talking about virtual communication, digital communication, and what is eye contact to do with that, right? There was a time when only artists, actors are supposed to talk to the camera. This is a situation where all of us professionals to start learning to talk to the camera, right? So right now I'm looking at you, right? No, I'm actually not looking at you. I'm looking in the camera. The more I am looking in the camera, all of you will feel that I'm looking at you. Now that's the eye contact I'm speaking about. When you're talking to someone one-on-one, face-to-face, we usually used to give a lot of ideas how to, if you are hesitant to look in the eyes, you can imagine a small triangle on the forehead and look there, and a lot of things. In public speaking scenarios, we used to give a lot of ideas to keep moving your eyes, not stick at one point, and many things. Now in virtual communication, it actually, if you think, is very, very easy. You have one camera. Okay, even if you are doing your meetings and sessions on your phone, tab, or laptop, There is one camera which you have to look into. Okay. And even if there are thousands of people who are watching you, each one of them will feel that you are looking in the eyes of them and talking. Okay. So now this is very important. Most of the, even the good communicators I have seen, when they're doing something virtually, they don't look at the camera. They probably look at, see, I'll tell you the difference right now. Now I'm looking at the camera. Now I'm looking at the screen. Okay. You can actually feel the difference if I'm looking at the screen and talking, or I'm looking somewhere else and talking, or when I'm looking at the camera and talking to you, right? Make sure you make good eye contact, or in this virtual sense, you're making camera contact and talking. Very, very important. Moving ahead, your tone and voice modulation. See, please understand, when you are actually doing a session or a meeting which is real, okay, face to face, there are many other cues which people will take. Okay? Your body language, the movement, you can go and, there is a touch and feel factor also. But when you're doing something virtually, yes, you can, not can, I would recommend you to switch on your camera for sure if it is a very important session. When you are not, it's only your voice, right? So people are just probably looking at a screen you're presenting and listening to your voice. So your tone and voice modulation becomes very, very important. So if you are using a flat tone, for example, from the beginning to the end, the entire session becomes very boring and the engagement level will definitely come down. Please use a tone, and when I'm talking about the tone and modulation, you should know when to stress certain words, when to reduce your volume, increase your volume. All these are the things which I'm talking about in tone and voice modulation. I take a lot of examples of movie songs, for instance. Many songs of SP Balasubramaniam, if you see, he actually brings out emotion just in the way he sings. Okay, even if you close your eyes and listen to the song, you can get the emotions there because of the tone and voice modulation, right? Use it to your advantage. Coming to your gestures, I said that please do switch on your camera and use the gestures. Gestures is the movement of your hands and limbs. Okay, so when you are even right now, I'm in front of the screen, I'm just looking at the camera, but I'm using my hand gestures, right? Don't sit like a like a doll and talk without any movement. Use your gestures effectively to complement what you are saying. Okay, so now that's very, very important to engage the audience. Last but not the least, when you are presenting, okay, use a very engaging presentation. No, you are also seeing a presentation right now. Yes, you are looking at me. I am also trying to engage you with a lot of all the things which I have spoken about. But even the presentation which is being presented has to be engaging. Don't make it very boring with only numbers. Even if you are using numbers, make it very simple. Probably represent that numbers in form of a chart. May have some graphics, have something to make it very interesting and engaging. Okay, that's how you can make the digital communication really, really engaging for your participants. It can be your team members, it can be an interviewer, it can be a group of people with whom you are doing a GD also. You can also bring engagement through storytelling. I always say, even with the data, you can tell stories. Now, don't force yourself to tell stories where it is not required, but as far as possible, don't just stick to what you're talking about. Try to bring in stories to make your conversation and communication more effective and engaging. Let us move on to the next session, which is work-life balance. One thing which is really ironic is when lockdown started for COVID in different parts of the globe, people started thinking that we'll be able to spend more time with the family, because of which the work-life balance will be better. But as time passed, many of us started seeing that it is the other way around. We are actually spending more time at home, but somewhere the balance is getting imbalanced. We are not able to balance our work and life, right? Because the boundary is not there. The boundary is blurred now. We start working at say around 9 o'clock in the morning. After that, there is no end because you are at home and working. You don't have a bifurcation of work and your personal life now. Let's get into this session to understand how to bring back this work-life balance, right? When we talk about work, I'll tell you 2 or 3 tips, okay, which is very important for you to understand. First of all, Do what you love what you do. I keep saying this in many forums. Very few people are lucky enough to, to do what they really love. Like me, I absolutely am passionate and in love with training, and I'm doing that. That is my profession. Okay, I consider myself to be lucky, but not everyone can do that. Please fall in love with your work, whatever you're doing. Okay, give your 100%. See, we are all spending more than 70% of our life working, man. So we have to start enjoying it. You should not do it forcefully, right? So please start loving whatever you are doing, and that will bring more value to your work life. So that's what I would suggest. Number two, schedule your priorities. Some people actually prioritize their schedule. That's not important. You should schedule your priorities. You should know what is your priority. you know there is a saying which says that if someone tells you that I don't have time, they really have time, but you are not the priority in their list. As simple as that. Okay, so if you prioritize things properly and schedule your priorities, you can give time to whatever you want to do in your life. Okay, so in your work life, these two becomes very important. Number one, do what you love or fall in love with what you're doing. And number two, schedule your priorities. Please keep very strict timeline for your work life. So you'll begin at this time, you'll end at this time. Use all the technology available to schedule your meetings. For instance, you can use calendar on Outlook, you can use the calendar on your phone, you can use many tools available to schedule, but make sure you have a strict start and end time for your work. Coming to your personal life, in your personal life, I always say to handle stress also there is a method called A cube, and the last A is acceptance. Acceptance will make your life beautiful. Okay, most of us struggle with a lot of things in our personal lives because of problem with acceptance. We have a kind of not so good relationship with our better half or parents or kids because somewhere we are not accepting them. Okay, I'm not saying don't try to change if people are not right. If they're doing something wrong, you should definitely try to do that. But at the end, after a point, acceptance will make you handle things very well. Okay, so that's very important in your personal life, and of course your interpersonal relationships. Some people are so workaholic, they give more than 100% to their work, but they forget about interpersonal relationships. When I say interpersonal relationships, it's not only in your family, it's also in your work. One thing is to be noted is when you work, money should become a byproduct. Okay, please don't work for money. Work for two things. One, to learn. Number two, to build interpersonal relationships. Okay, now if you are successful in doing these two things, of course money will come. I'm not saying you should work for free. You will get salary or money or whatever it is. But if you are able to do these two things, okay, learning and interpersonal relationships in your work, I treat you as a successful person. The same goes with your family life also, or your personal life also. Relationships are everything, guys. Okay, so please start building some meaningful relationships in your life. It can be in your family, with your friends. Okay, though we are our social life has reduced, we have a lot of tools now, right, because of the technology. Please make sure that the interpersonal relationships between so many people you have in your life is going very strong. All right, now that's how your life becomes beautiful. Coming to how to balance these two. Okay, now work, I told you some things to make it meaningful. Life, I told you some things to make it meaningful. How to balance them? You can do small things like healthy eating. Always remember, eat on time and eat healthy. That's very important. Physical exercise, which is something we all have forgot in today's age. We should start giving some good time for that. Meditate and give some good quality time. You see, spending time with family doesn't mean I'm sitting at home any which ways I'm spending time. No, when you are with your family, be with them, give your 100% to them. Okay, and also I'm talking about something called me time. In between all these things, what happens is we forget to spend time with our own self, not with anyone. Okay, not even with your parents or with your kids or anyone. Spend time with you. Okay, now that's what I call as me time. By doing all these things, you can actually bring a beautiful balance between your professional life and your personal life. Let us move on to the next session, which is maintaining your health and safety during the post-COVID era. Now, when we talk about health and safety, there are four different levels which you'll have to think of, which are your physical health, that is bodily health, your psychological or mental health, your emotional health, and finally your spiritual health. Okay, so let me quickly tell you certain key tips. Okay, so to ensure that your all the four levels of your health is taken care of. For physical, please do ensure that you are eating really healthy. So when I say healthy food, so of course depend as much as possible on home cooked food and whichever is your staple. For example, in South India, rice is staple, better go for rice, whichever is your lifestyle and your region. Okay, so for north, wheat is staple. So make sure you are eating healthy and home cooked food. Have as much fruits and vegetables as possible in your daily diet. Moving on to physical exercise. Okay, so in order to maintain your physical health really well, please ensure that you are spending at least 20 to 30 minutes every single day on physical activity. Now this physical activity can be as simple as walking, running, going to a gym, or working out in your room itself, doing some yoga, anything, but spend that 20 to 30 minutes per day on physical activity. Eyes, out of all the organs we are having, eyes is one thing which will be strained a lot during these times because we are spending a lot of time in front of the screen. We used to earlier say that you have to reduce your screen time, but unfortunately because of the kind of changes which are taking place, screen time is drastically increased. So your health of your eye is very important and taking care of it is very, very crucial. Keep a time. Okay, maybe every 20 to 30 minutes you look at the screen, so please take your eye off the screen and look at something very far. And number two, don't just sit in the four walls. Please make sure that you go out of your home and look at things which are quite far as well. Okay, because within the home we are restricted to seeing things which are very, very close to us. Have some simple eye exercises. It's not very difficult. Maybe you can move your eyes from left, look up, look right, look down. So this is one exercise. Maybe 5 rounds clockwise, 5 rounds anti-clockwise. Close your eyes and keep it for some time. Do these simple exercises to keep your eyes very, very healthy. Moving ahead, of course, we all understand this SMS. First is social distance. Please ensure that you are maintaining social distance with everyone you meet. Minimum 6 feet. Okay. Wear a mask whenever you are outside, and as soon as you come inside your home, ensure that you wash the mask. Okay, wash your hands. Now this last SMS is sanitization or soap, but I would recommend you to wash the hands with soap as much as possible instead of sanitizer, because that's more healthier than sanitizer. Coming to psychological health, read. Okay, not your proposals or something related to your work or your education. Please read something outside it as much as possible, and it will actually help you maintain your psychological health. This is the time when you have to upskill yourself, so you can take up any courses online or fulfill your hunger for learning. Okay, so please learn as much as possible. Involve yourself in doing some creative work. So when I say creative, it can be anything, starting from, you can be interested in photography. Just go out and click some photographs on your camera or on your phone. Involve yourself in drawing, sketching, music, any creative work. Okay, and that is actually going to help you maintain your psychological health. Moving to emotional health, you see, because we are so much involved in our work, and also we are, most of the time is spent on virtual platforms. Try to watch some kind of movies or series or something which will boost your emotional health. Okay, so watch something which is soothing. Okay, and whenever I talk about content, there are a lot of content out there which are actually very violent, and maybe it might disturb your emotional health. So be careful in choosing the content you are consuming. Just make sure that you are communicating with people. Okay, I know face-to-face communication has come down, but even inside your home, ensure that you are communicating with your family and anyone. Okay, even virtually it's fine, but that interpersonal communication is very, very important to ensure that you are emotionally healthy, right? So let's move on to the spiritual health. See, one, music. Okay, music is something, if you are fond of it, it can, uplift you spiritually. So listen to some music which is very, very uplifting. And last but not the least, meditate. Okay, now meditation was always important, but this post COVID era, it has become more important than ever. Okay, so please do meditate. You can go back to the course on uh, certified emotional intelligence expert to understand how to meditate. It's not very difficult. You just have to sit in a quiet place. Maybe you can do Aum meditation, or you can just sit and focus on your breaths. Do it for at least 10 to 15 minutes a day, and it is going to be really, really uh, relaxing. You'll be able to manage your stress, as well as start exploring about who you are, and maybe you'll be able to uplift yourself spiritually. Hope you are able to get some key things on how to schedule your day in this post COVID era to ensure that you are healthy and safe. Now let's get into the next session of managing the most crucial resource of today, which is time. See, time management has been covered in few other courses like stress management also, but here I am going to talk very, very focused on something called prioritization. Only two things based on which we prioritize anything what we do in our day-to-day life, and those are urgency and importance. Okay, now if you draw a small graph, okay, the quadrant 1 will be those activities which are both urgent and important. There can be certain activities which are very important but are not that urgent. The third quadrant will talk about activities which are urgent but not important, and the last quadrant, or Q4, will be not urgent, not important. Now these are the only 4 ways you can prioritize your day-to-day tasks. Now all those in the first quadrant can be termed as high priority activities. The second and third quadrant can be termed as medium priority, and the last quadrant is something which has all low priority activities. So when we talk about time management or even goal setting, the goal setting will drill down to one last point, which is called as a daily task sheet. I always say that please write down your daily task the moment you start your day. Before closing your day, please go back to your daily task sheet or that diary, check out all the tasks you have done, and that daily task sheet should not have anything which are low priority for sure. It can have medium or high. Okay, and that is how you have to plan your entire day. So now let's understand, we all have these 4 kind of tasks in our day-to-day life. So how to, what to do with these things? So you can't do away with any kind of priority activities, but what to do with that? So it's very simple, 4 Ds. So whatever activity comes which is both urgent and important, do it. D-O, do. So do it now and do it yourself. Okay, now that's what you have to do with the high priority tasks. When we talk about medium priority or some activities which are very important and not urgent, you can delay it. Okay, maybe because if you have something which is both urgent and important in your hand, so that has to be done on priority, this can be slightly delayed. Okay, that also starts with D. Coming to the activities which are urgent but not important, please delegate it. Now delegation is very important for anyone working in an organization in a leadership position, etc. Delegation is getting things done from someone else. Okay, now if you are able to delegate, your task is also done. The task which is urgent but not important is also done, but not by you, by someone else. Okay, but all set in the activity is completed, right? So delegation becomes very important. The last kind of tasks which are not urgent and not important, you have to delete it from your daily task sheet as much as possible. All right, these are the 4 Ds. Now this is something I always say, but what people start thinking is we have to always focus on the quadrant 1. Okay, because I always say that that's high and you have to do it now and do it yourself. But in this session, I'm going to focus on something very, very tricky, okay, which people might miss out. See, the quadrant 1 people are called as crisis managers. Now, if your day is filled with activities which are both urgent and important, that means you are not able to plan yourself really well. Okay, so you are working on crisis. So you always have something on fire, so you have to immediately do it, and you are always busy in doing such things. Okay, now that kind of a person is called as, can be termed as a crisis manager, the Q1 quadrant person. Okay, Q2 quadrant person, or a person who focuses on Q2 activities, is called as a self manager. Okay, who can manage himself and his time really well. So what is quadrant 2? Activities which are very important but not as urgent as Q1. Okay, coming to Q3 people are interruption focused people. Okay, that means you're always focused on doing something which is very urgent, but it is absolutely not important. Maybe I'm taking this session, my phone is ringing. That's very urgent, because if I don't pick up in the next 1 minute, it will get disconnected. I'll be more focused on that than this session. Now, we are people, if I am such a person, I'll be an interruption focused person. Okay, it's also not good. Q4 people are definitely time wasters, because they are only focusing on things which are not urgent, not important. Maybe watching something just for the heck of it, browsing social media all the time, chatting with friends for hours and hours together without any objective. Now, these kind of people will be called as time wasters. Now, very important thing for you to understand here is you should focus on becoming a quadrant 2 person or a self manager. Okay, yes, you cannot do away with tasks which are both urgent and important, so that you have to do it yourself, do it immediately. But if you become well planned, you can reduce that number of tasks or percentage of activities falling under Q1, and you can have maximum tasks or activities which are under Q2. Now, what are the kind of activities which can come under Q2? Let me tell you some certain things. Okay, maybe daily exercise. Okay, it is very important for you to exercise every day, but it is never urgent. Okay, so if you are a Q1 person, you will never exercise in your life. So if you are a Q2 person, you are able to manage yourself well. You will ensure that you are, scheduling some time for your daily exercise. There are many things like that. Okay, maybe learning is very important. We all have to keep learning all our life, but that is very important, but it is never urgent, unless and until maybe your company or your college is forcing you to do a course. Till that time, it is not urgent. So as a self manager, you should become a Q2 person. Okay, who are having maximum amount of time dedicated in your day for activities which are very important but not really urgent. So you are not becoming a crisis manager, or working on deadlines, but you are working on things which are, and you are very well planned. Okay, you are able to finish things within time. I hope I'm able to clear the concept of prioritization and how you can really manage the crucial resource of time in this, I would say, a crisis time of post-COVID era. We will now get into an activity called preparedness. Learning is on one side. Applying the learnings to your real life is the most important thing as per me. Now, this activity will focus on how you can really apply all the things which you have learned in this particular course in your day-to-day life. What is this activity all about? Schedule a typical working day of yours, keeping in mind the learning from the session. Okay, start from the wake up time of the day till the same time next day to cover 24 hours. So if you are on a regular basis, say waking up at 6 o'clock, that is the time when you will start noting down all the activities and scheduling your full day. It has to go till the next morning 6 a.m. Ensure that you are able to have 25% of the total time, okay, out of 24 hours for Q1 activities. Now you know what is Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, right? So if not, please go back and ensure that you are finishing and clearing your doubts under prioritization. Next, 60% of your activity should be under Q2, 10% under Q3, and 5% for Q4 activities. Follow the format shown below and try to ensure that the same is followed rigorously for at least 21 days. Okay, now I'll tell you the format also. So the format is this: serial number, what activity. Okay, for example, morning 6 to 6:30, you can group certain activities together as morning core, from and to 6 a.m. to 6:30 a.m. Duration is 30 minutes. Now the duration can be in minutes or hours. I would recommend you to write in minutes, okay, so that you can cover all the activities of that 24 hours. And finally, you have to write the priority. Priority, instead of high, medium, and low, I have put as quadrant. You can write it as Q1, Q2, Q3, and Q4. You know how to prioritize your activities now, right? Your target is to ensure that maximum, that is 60% of your full 24-hour activity should be under Q2, 25% under Q1, 10 under Q3, and 5 under Q4. Now, why I have given that 10 and 5 is it's not very easy to remove all the low priority or Q4 activities from your daily schedule. So it's okay to begin with. So this is one I would recommended split of the quadrant activities which I have given. Once you're done with this scheduling, try to follow it rigorously for 21 days. Okay. So this number 21 is very, very interesting. If you do anything for continuously for 21 days without missing even a single day in between, that will become a habit. Okay. Now 21 is a habit forming number. Now why we are making it for 21 days is because this entire schedule should become your habit. So if you have put 30 minutes for exercise from say 6 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. in the evening, that has to become a habit. Every after 21 days, 22nd day, without you knowing, something from within you will tell you that yes, it's 6 p.m. now let's go and do some physical activity. It can be running, walking, skipping, or whatever you have kept for yourself, right? So this is the activity of preparedness, to understand whether whatever you have learned you are applying and you are making it a habit for yourself. All right, now let's move on to the case study for this entire course. Please remember that this exercise or and quiz is going to be mandatory for certification. Now, why we are giving this particular activity is nowadays it's very, very common for people to ask for video resumes, and through this you are also preparing yourself to face interviews and send video resumes to recruiters. Link for the quiz will be shared with those interested in certification. It's going to be 20 multiple choice questions which you'll have to complete if you are interested, of course, in certification. This is how the sample certificate for this course, Certified Post-COVID Era Professional, will look like. With that, we come to the end of the course, Certified Post-COVID Era Professional. We hope that you enjoyed this course, learned many, many things which are very, very important for you to excel in this new normal. If you have any queries or feedback, please write to us at arunsacademy4success@gmail.com. Let's end this course with a quote which says, "We don't grow when things are easy, we grow when we face challenges." Now, I definitely agree that this is a challenging time. Many things have drastically changed. Our lifestyle has changed forever. But these are the challenges which will help us grow and succeed in our lives, and also add value to a lot of other people. Thank you so much. Keep learning and keep growing.
Congratulations on completing this online course.
What next? 1. Implement the learnings of this course in your personal and professional life. 2. Like, share and subscribe to our YouTube channel. 3. If you want to get certified, please do email us your interest.
In order to get certified, you need to complete the quiz and the exercise or case study as explained in the course. Please note that the price for e-certificate is Rs 399 and for hard copy certificate is Rs 699 plus GST.
The price is to cover our expenses of course creation and certification. Once you email us your interest, invoice will be sent to you. Post payment, receipt and the link for quiz will be sent. Post successful completion, certificate will be issued to you.
Getting the certificate as shown in the course is purely your choice. Thank you for choosing Arun's Academy for your learning needs. If you have any questions, clarifications, or in case of training requirements, please feel free to contact us. Please do write your feedback regarding the course.
We at Arun's Academy wish you all the very best. Keep learning and keep growing.